good morning and good afternoon to all of you lovely ladies, whoever is watching. I am so happy you are here. And today is our weekly interview with our special guest. And it's Shelsey Cayer. Is that how you say your name?
It's French, so it's Cayer. But
oh, wow.
Yeah.
I never would have guessed that.
No, it's okay. Nobody would have guessed it. You're not alone.
Well, that's pretty cool. So for all of you that are watching, Shelsey is from the leftbrainhippie.com, and she has helped thousands of people with her online courses and through live events. And she is getting ready to write her first book. So I am super excited about that. I can't wait to find out what it's about. But today we're going to be talking about manifesting, how would you say that? Manifesting emotional release?
Yeah, manifesting using emotional release. Because I think what a lot of people are trying to do when they think of the word manifesting, they're like, okay, I have to like visualize what I want, and I have to like write it down 555 times, and like, kind of the manifesting magic tricks, as I call them. And I mean, that's one way of doing it, and for some people it works. However, if that hasn't been working for you, then you're who I'm speaking to. Because if that's not working for you, there's a good reason for that. And it's not because there's anything wrong with you. It's not because you're doing something wrong. Because it can feel that way when you see people saying, oh, like I just visualized this for 30 seconds and then it fell into my lap. Like it's very easy to fall into like, why doesn't that happen for me? Like, why do I spend half my day trying to visualize this or writing down my goals constantly, and yet still nothing seems to be coming easily for me? And so manifesting through emotional release, it's a different approach to it. And I feel it's a more human approach personally. I feel it leaves a lot more room for us to be who we are. It leaves a lot more room for us to be, to feel what we need to feel and live in this on planet Earth as a human, instead of staying like in a shell in meditation mode and in like kind of trying to block out the outside world and hope that nothing kills your vibe, right? So I'd like to start with redefining manifesting, because manifesting, when a lot of us think of that, is like, okay, I manifested this. I manifested a client. I manifested a new car. Or I manifested this and that. And it's something that you're trying to get. It's something that you're kind of efforting towards, either with your mind or with your actions. But I want to redefine it, invite you to think of it a little bit differently. So it's not something that you're trying to get. It's not something that you have to do. Manifestations, it's something that happens as a result, as a side effect, if you will, of your belief system and emotional state. So it's not something that you have to do. So even saying I manifested this is, I would even say that's slightly inaccurate. And I would rephrase that to say it manifested as a result of my beliefs. Because
I really love that. And I really see, like with my clients and a lot of people in general, my friends and my family, that they talk a lot about this struggle that they have, right? Mm-hmm. And then they start feeling almost angry and upset because they're trying. And then when I think of this trying, I think of pushing. I think of hitting your head against the wall. I'm trying. And therein lies, I think, the problem, and what I love so much about what you're talking about, being human and saying, we don't have to keep pushing. It can be easier.
Yeah, when you're looking at manifesting as something that happens as a result of your belief system and as a result of your emotional state, it's not something that you have to effort towards with your actions. It's about putting the focus on, feeling the emotions that you need to feel in order to improve your emotional state. So you don't have to try to feel good. I think this is another misconception that needs to be addressed is, I'm trying to feel good. I'm trying to feel. you don't have to try to feel good. And if you're trying to feel good, then it's because you have blocked emotions that need to be released, because the more you release, the better you're going to feel naturally. It's just, this is our human condition. The reason why we don't feel flying high, amazing all the time is because we've weighed ourselves down with thoughts and beliefs and, focusing on things that we don't want. I like to think of it as, those kitchen scales where you put the food on top and, there's a spring or something that it's like a kitchen scale. So if you have a kitchen scale, negative emotion is like putting the rocks on it that weigh it down. So if you want the scale to go back up, you don't have to push the scale up. You don't take the platform or the scale and push it up. You just take what's on top off of it and it will naturally go back up. So it's kind of,
That's a really good explanation.
Yeah. So you don't have to push the scale up. You just take off the rocks, AKA those negative emotions. And I want to be extremely clear that when I say take the rocks off, I don't simply mean ignore your emotions. The whole point of what I'm talking about here is actually the opposite. It's to feel your emotions. And I'm going to give you a few ideas and techniques for allowing that emotional release to happen. Because what happens is when you take those rocks off, your mood will lift. You will feel better. And through feeling better, if you know a little bit about law of attraction or manifesting or anything, that you know that feeling good is a key, it's the thing that matters. So when you try to, I call it faking your way to alignment. You try to feel good, even though you really don't. You try to slap a smiley face on, even though you feel awful, even though you're stressed, even though you're worried, even though you're scared or whatever you're feeling. When you try to fake your way to alignment and bypass those emotions, all it takes is a feather to knock you down. Mm-hmm. From like when you do feel like, okay, I'm in a good mood, I gotta hold it. And it takes nothing to knock you down. Like all it takes is the slightest comment.
I've had days like that.
Yeah. It takes just the slightest thing to make you feel like crap again, because you don't have a solid emotional base. Like you haven't processed through everything that's below it. So it's kind of like you're standing on a tight wire, or a tightrope, like, okay, I'm in alignment. I gotta hold it.
That's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah, it's not stable. It's not sustainable. So it certainly doesn't feel fun when you're trying to manifest that way. So a really important.
Not going to manifest anything that way.
No, exactly. That's another great point as well. Like just because you're bypassing these emotions doesn't mean that they went away. They're still there under the surface, and they're still affecting your frequency. So whether you deal with them,
that's a problem. I think really for entrepreneurs in general, they are dealing with all of these emotions because of what they're working on. Mm-hmm. When we think of us as entrepreneurs, we're trying to do this task, or we're trying to get this project off the ground. And therein lies all of these feelings that we have, about ourselves, the self-doubt, about the progression of the project not happening the way they want to, feeling like an imposter, feeling like they're never going to get anywhere, judging themselves. And when we get stuck in these feelings, I think, if we have this baseline, what you're talking about, and the ability and the skill to really hone in on being free from that and stop trying so hard, I think we could cope and manifest those things that we want in our business. So what would you say to an entrepreneur who, for example, is really, trying and struggling, and pushing that scale down to achieve these goals? What would you say to her?
Well, it's funny because actually recently I have a client who she was hitting that point, and it was funny because I started working with her a couple of months ago, and she has progressively over the first couple of months of us working together felt worse and worse. And I was trying to explain to her, like, this often happens when you start addressing this stuff. it's a bumpy ride at first. It's very normal. Give yourself a break, cut yourself some slack, allow yourself to feel it. But she'd never let herself just feel it and be okay with it and make her peace with where she was. And she just kept forcing, like, no, I need to figure it out. I need to like understand what my next step is and all this. And so finally, I just told her, you know what? Here's your permission slip. Take a few weeks off from your business. Like,
I love that.
Don't stop doing things. Like, she had clients. So I said, do your client calls because, you made that commitment, obviously, but stop doing your Facebook Live. Stop trying to write perfect social media posts. Just stop. And I said, it might take a day or two to just settle into it, but I need you to take a break. And actually, you need you to take a break and just give yourself full permission to just be present to whatever comes up. Because right now you're avoiding it. And just don't numb out on Netflix. Don't spend your day on the Facebook newsfeed. That's numbing out. And it's going to take longer if you do that. So just stay present to whatever comes up and allow yourself to feel it. And the clarity will come, but you have to stop pushing. And she said it took her a day or so to just kind of let the guilt subside for not working. But then once the guilt subsided and she finally allowed herself to just let go of the wheel, just close her eyes and let go of the wheel, within hours, clients started contacting her out of the blue. Like when she had fully given 5 clients in one day.
Wow.
Contacted her because she just gave up. She was just like, just completely surrendered it. And
what a wonderful feeling that is.
Yes. When you truly honor where you are and how you're feeling, it's extremely powerful because up until then, she had been feeling like crap, but she had not made it okay that she was feeling like that. It was always beating herself up for feeling that way. Exactly. And I should know better. I shouldn't be feeling like, beating yourself up. Yeah. And this is why, it's so important to address this because this is getting to be a bigger and bigger part of my message because I think a lot of law of attraction teachings are really harmful for this reason. It's harmful to try to bypass the emotions. You're essentially gaslighting yourself. Mm. You're creating psychological damage. Like the longer you do this to yourself, you're creating damage for yourself. Or when you think that it's not okay to be feeling this way and, imagine an abusive partner justifying why you got what you deserved and you deserved to get beaten or abused. Mm. And, how do you feel when that happened? Or hopefully none of you know what that feels like. I don't know what it's like to be on the receiving end of that, but so I'm using a hypothetical situation here, but you would feel completely invalidated, completely unacknowledged, and you would feel like you're the crazy one. Like when you're gaslighting yourself and you're kind of beating up on yourself and you're telling yourself, I must have deserved this, or like, I feel completely invalidated. That's what a lot of law of attraction teachings kind of, because they don't often emphasize the importance of being okay with where you are and allowing yourself to feel like crap when necessary and allowing yourself to really process things. And a lot of them don't emphasize that. So a lot of people end up thinking, oh my God, it's not okay that I feel sad right now. It's not okay. So I better stop feeling sad or else I'm going to attract bad things to myself and it'll be my fault.
Yeah. And I think it goes deeper than that in a way, because, when you are having one of those bad days and everything is going wrong and nothing that you're doing is working, I think intellectually we know that we're supposed to back off, stop, and, kind of go into all the feels and everything. But we feel somehow that we're not allowed to, like what you were saying about your client, because, we're not getting that result. So we got to work harder, but the other part of that is that we have this dual identity, where, we've got to keep this pretty face and everything is just fine, like what you were saying before. But then the other part is I have to fake it till I make it, but I really feel like crap because I'm really not achieving these goals. But like what you were saying, the psychological damage that can be done by having this dual identity is just something damaging to ourselves that we don't really want to have for ourselves. We have to make sure that we do give ourselves permission to feel the way we feel, take time off. I mean, I think this is what is happening with everyone, feeling so overwhelmed, an underachiever, and, ultimately not manifesting anything.
Nothing that they want anyway. Because I mean, everything again is just a manifestation of your belief system and your emotional state, right? So stuff's manifesting, but it's not the stuff you want. So, another point to this, whole gaslighting conversation is the difference between self-blame versus responsibility. So a lot of people, when they learn about the law of attraction and stuff, like they start to blame themselves. I manifested that because I was in a bad mood, or because I'm not good at being positive, or, whatever they're telling themselves. And there's a huge difference between saying that was my fault versus taking responsibility and saying, okay, this is where my vibration is at right now. This is where my frequency is at. So what am I going to choose to do next? So the way I like to look at it is blame is looking backwards and responsibility is looking forwards.
I love that.
Yeah. And you don't need to blame yourself. It's not your fault. Like when you were a baby and you fell off a chair or the couch, nobody blamed you for not knowing how to use the law of gravity. Right. This is not something that we're taught as kids typically. So you can't blame yourself for not knowing how this works. Yeah, we're so hard on ourselves. So, I mean, this whole conversation really is just about like, forgive yourself for being human and and not knowing what you didn't know and learning along the way and getting better and better at it along the way. And so, when you catch yourself veering into self-blame when it comes to manifesting, just look at it as responsibility instead and say, okay, this is feedback on where I'm at right now. What am I going to do next? What am I going to choose how am I going to deal with this? What emotional steps am I going to take, or action steps, or whatever. So the bottom line, the law of attraction does work. Like, I'm not trying to invalidate the law of attraction, because the fundamentals are true. Like everything is kind of, we attract what we're vibrating, but it doesn't work through force. And I think that's the way a lot of people are trying to approach it.
It's the opposite.
It works through release.
Yes. But I think that we're taught in our society, we see all of these public figures and we read these books. I can think of one in particular. Think of Crush It from Gary Vaynerchuk, right? So crush it, right? And here we are. You're an online entrepreneur. I'm an online entrepreneur. That's what this entire group is about. And we see these public figures that are telling us to just kill it, to really slay it, and it's inspiring, right? But I think what ends up happening is it's all in the wrong spirit. And we end up attacking ourselves and feeling like we're a failure. And then, so that leads me to another point, when we start thinking about the projects that we're working on, and they don't turn out the way that we want. They don't turn out as we plan them to. Yeah. So, what would you say to an entrepreneur who's, just been slaving on this project and it just didn't turn out the way she wants it to? I mean, it's like, at launch maybe, right? And it's anticlimactic, and so there she is. What do you say to her?
So first of all, I want to say that a failed launch does not mean that you're not in alignment. I want to clarify that right away. Just because you didn't get the results that you wanted doesn't mean you're not in alignment. You might be on the exact path. Like, I want to give an example that I saw yesterday, which was Amanda Francis. And she wrote such a perfect post in her group, which was, yeah, I know. So the post was the first time that she launched her, I think it's called Money Mentality Makeover course 4 years ago in 2014. She only sold 4 of them and made $700. And this past launch that she just wrapped up, I think it was like a total of 500 and something people that she got, and the launch netted over $700,000. Like, so I want to point out that a failed launch does not mean that you're on the wrong path. Like, it's the same program. Maybe she updated it, but it's like she just kept doing it again and again and again. And I think a lot of us, especially in the whole manifesting community, we're like, if I didn't get what I want, that means that it's out of alignment. And it just means that you, like, if you just probably need to give it another chance. Unpack what was successful about it, what maybe wasn't so successful that you could change for next time. And I've done this so many times too, where I create something, I launch it, it doesn't work. Okay, I'm going to trash it and make something else. So, this is really only in the past few months where I actually, I only have 2 offers in my business right now. That's it. I'm just I'm offering these same offers over and over and over again, because I've learned that constantly creating something new is not giving the chance for something to create momentum. Whereas if I had, just focused on my membership from January last year when I launched it and done nothing but launch that, then I would probably have a lot more members by now. But the reality was, I was like, okay, well, that sort of worked. So let me see if I can create something new and have it work even better. But I wasn't giving it enough of a chance to gain the momentum that it deserves and keep making it better and more powerful each time. So just because you didn't get the result you wanted, and also the result that you wanted, by the way, you are the one who set that goal. So it was probably quite arbitrary. When you set that goal, there's a very good chance that you were like, I just want $10,000. I want a $10,000 launch. And most people don't actually go through the trouble of calculating, okay, if I want $10,000, then I need X number of people to see the launch, and then X number of people to actually click on the link. And most people don't take the time to do those calculations.
And then working with the intention of why they want it. Because I think if you are going into a project with the wrong intention, and by the way, I don't think the intention of saying, I want to make money and that's all I want to do is the right intention. Because I don't think, that, I don't know, this is the way I think personally. And you tell me if I'm wrong here, but when you solely go after something for your own personal gains, I don't think that is manifesting anything wonderful. I mean, I guess it could for some people because they seem to get everything, they're like they have the Midas touch. But I believe that when you go at something where your intention is that other people are going to gain a benefit just as much as you are, then I believe the universe will give more to you. So I just think that it's having that right intention, that right mind space of what it is that you're going to give.
Yeah, there is that. And to add to that, I would say, what are you attaching to the outcome? Like, a lot of the time, this is a completely different conversation, so I don't want to go too far off topic, but like, what are you making conditional on the outcome of this launch? Are you saying like, if I make 5 figures this launch, that means I'm successful? Okay, so if you say that, then that means by default that you don't believe you're successful now. Well, you're not a vibrational match to achieve the outcome that you want if you're implying that you're not successful now. Or saying, I will be good enough if I sell 20 spots in my guest or in my group program. That will mean that I'm good enough or I'm validated. Okay, well, you need to be validated now in order to be a vibrational match for that outcome. So, I mean, like I said, I
think that's why people give up. When they're talking about, this launch didn't go as planned and I feel really crappy. And then so they give up. I think that's exactly why people give up, because they feel like they simply failed and they're not in alignment. It's a bad product. They don't have the validation that they need. And so they just give up. They don't feel like anyone would like this product. But I mean, like your example with Amanda Francis, if she had given up, all of those people out there would not have been served. We have to really think about that outcome, about, if we don't do this thing that we are gifted with, then how will that, not make the world a better place? I mean, my hashtag is always change maker. That's what I've got. I don't know if you've noticed that, but change maker, everything that we want to do has got to rock the world. We've got to make the world a better place. But when we think about our own results, oh, that didn't work, I think I'll quit, because it didn't get validated. But it's more about, understanding that you are in alignment with this and to keep trying.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's okay if in the beginning, if you're in financial survival mode, it's totally okay that a primary motivation for you to get this up and running is money. Like, it's okay. In order to really serve other people, you need to not feel like you're in survival mode. So, like, it's totally okay if that is a primary motivation. But you do need to have a better reason if you're going to keep going. Like you said, if you have a launch where you only sold 4 spots and all you care about is making money, then you're going to get stuck in that, like, okay, well, that didn't make money, so I need to go create something else that maybe will make more money. Like, whereas if you really get clear on how you're serving people and the impact that you're making in the world, you can be like, okay, that didn't make as much money as I wanted. Bummer. And I'm going to try it again so that I can reach even more people next time.
So do you think that people need to feel a sense of validation? If it didn't go as planned and they've got to deal with their emotions.
They need to feel validation with or without that launch.
And the thing about a lot of people is, I don't know if you've dealt with a lot of personality typing, but I think that there's a lot of personality types that really struggle with this.
Yeah, there's going to be, I haven't done a ton of work into the personality types, but I can see what you mean, that there are some people who, I'm thinking probably more of the type A people who are just like, no, but I need the numbers to be there in order to justify doing this over and over again. And they don't necessarily trust their gut as much, and they don't necessarily aren't necessarily in touch with their feelings and emotions as much, and they really are relying on the numbers to tell them where to go. Exactly. So, I can see how some people would struggle more with this, but it really is a question of, okay, actually one of my mentors that I worked with last year, it was just like, when you're creating something, would you be okay if only one person signed up? Would you still want to do it? Like, that was kind of her litmus test. And if the answer is no, then don't create it. Then don't do it.
I love that. That is so good.
Yep. Yeah. And I had the chance to implement that too, because I did a group program and I only had 3 people that signed up. And so I was just like, but you know what? I went in there, I gave my all, and it was awesome. And those 3 people were just like, I feel like I'm getting one-on-one coaching. they lucked out. They loved it. They loved it. So is this what I want to be putting out into the world? And if you are okay doing it, even if only 1 or 2 people sign up, then that means it's because you feel it's in alignment with your mission and the message that you want to put out there. And you know what? If only 2 people sign up, then you'll just keep trying again and keep doing it over and over until it actually works, until you nail the messaging, until you get all of the nuts and bolts in place to really drive it forward.
That is so good. I love that. We should have someone type that in. We don't have anyone type that in. And maybe we'll do a post on that, because that was so good. But, when I think about, along the way in some of these projects that we're working on, we're trying to measure the progress. We go into that deep place where we're judging ourselves, and we want to be able to measure our progress, but not go into that internal place, that self-doubt, and how would we even get through that if we didn't? Maybe I didn't say that right. How do we get through, the emotions of measuring our progress when we're feeling bad about where we are? We should be further along in our progress, right?
Okay, well, first, this goes back to being okay with where you are, no matter where you are. And because being okay with where you are doesn't mean that you're giving up. It doesn't mean that you're going to stay complacent. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle with this, is like, how can I just be okay with where I am? I don't have what I want yet. But, being okay with where you are, it doesn't mean that that's your finish line. It means that that's your starting line. It means that, okay, you're just saying, okay, this is my starting point. This is where I am right now. I mean, at the beginning of a race, like, you don't see a runner being mad that they're at the starting line and not at the finish line. The race isn't over yet. So, just being okay with where you are. And when you have a crappy, like, we all have crappy launches and stuff that doesn't go as planned. Like, I've seen very high level entrepreneurs have launches that don't go as planned, but you just don't see them posting about that on social media. But, when you see some of the back ends of their businesses, sometimes they don't go as planned, and that's just the name of the game. Like, sometimes it goes as planned and sometimes it doesn't. So getting over those, or actually, I don't want to say getting over, but honoring those feels, honoring those emotions of feeling like a failure and being like, okay, why am I making this mean that I'm a failure? Or first of all, asking yourself, what are you making it mean? Like, if things didn't go as planned, what are you making that mean? I'm guessing a common one is going to be that you feel that makes you a failure. Mm-hmm. So if we use that as an example, okay, why am I making this mean that I'm a failure? Because I didn't get that goal. What life experiences kind of contributed to and constructed that belief? So, I mean, examples might be getting lower marks on a test and, having your parents chastise you or ground you or something for not having a good enough mark on a test. Or, maybe if you played sports, maybe missing a crucial goal. Like if you're on the soccer team or something and everyone is counting on you to make the goal and you missed it. I don't know, but there's like all these life experiences that can contribute to a fear of failure and make it mean like something really bad about you if things don't turn out as planned. So you have to kind of figure, okay, where did I even learn that this is such a bad thing to miss a goal or to not achieve what I set out to? And when you look at that, look at those experiences and you can reframe them and be just like, okay, well, my parents were mad at me for getting a 60, a C on that test when they know that I was capable of an A. Because if you reframe that, you could say, they were doing their best as a parent. They thought they were motivating me. Maybe they went about it wrong, but they were doing the best that they could from their experience. They were just trying to motivate me. And it actually doesn't mean that I'm a failure. That was their means for trying to motivate me. And reframing it in a way that makes you feel like, okay, so I'm not a failure just because I did poorly on that test. Like it's, a blip in the radar. It's just that one test. And as you start to
feel like it at the time, do they?
Well, kids don't see context, right? So kids don't see like, I wonder what my parents grew up with in order to make them react to this test score that way. Like kids don't think of any of that. But now when you're in your, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and you have the wisdom to look back and say, okay, why did my parents made me feel that way? Because they were just trying to motivate me the best they could. And they could have done it differently, but that's what they learned. That's the only way that they knew, and they were doing their best. And it actually doesn't mean that I'm a failure at all. It just means that they didn't know any better way to help me. And that's okay. So
I think that a lot of people have fallen into patterns, though, don't you think?
Patterns of
these feelings that we have when something doesn't go as planned. Mm-hmm. They come from our past, from events that have happened, kind of like what you were talking about. And then we fall into patterns, even though we are 20, 30, 40, 50 years old, we still don't know how to cope with these mm-hmm. feelings, with, disappointing ourselves even. Yeah. So I think that journaling would be really amazing at this point. When you're talking about a project or anything that's going on with our life and our business that's really big, we want to look at our intentions. We want to make sure that we feel good about the outcome.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, I mean, what it really comes down to is, and like, I definitely want to dig into journaling and some ways that you can release emotion in order to allow yourself to float back up again instead of trying to force yourself up. But I do want to mention that wherever you have the most emotion invested, that's the outcome that you're going to get. So what I mean by that is if your fear is bigger than your desire, then your actions are going to be a function of your fear. Whereas if your desire far outweighs your fear, then all of your actions will be a function of your desire, and it'll be easy to move toward that, because our brain puts these things on autopilot so that we don't get exhausted from decision fatigue all day. So, I mean, when your brain decides, okay, I have a belief that success is scary because it means I'll get to spend less time with my kids, for example. Okay, we don't want success, noted. So the actions that we take are going to contradict success. That's just the type of thing that our brains put on autopilot. And it starts with our emotions. We have a fear of success. That's the emotion. And so our actions are a function of the emotions that are the strongest. Does that make sense the way that I just said it?
It totally does. And I get clients who say, gosh, I don't know how I want more clients, but I don't know how I'm going to fit them in my schedule. It's like, did you hear yourself? You're literally pushing clients away from you because you don't believe you're not in the right feeling space. And we have to remember that when we're manifesting anything, or we want to manifest anything, it's about that feeling space that we're in, which is what you're talking about. So we have to make sure that we don't say, oh, I'm scared. I'm not going to have time for my kids. I'm scared that I'm not going to have enough clients, because you're coming from a place of fear. You're not going to get what you truly want.
Exactly. But a lot of people don't even hear themselves when they say it. Like you just said with your client, like they say it like, oh my God, I'm getting all these clients. I don't even know where I'm going to put them in my schedule. And like, it comes out and they don't actually even hear it. But when you reflect it back to them, because like, wait a minute. So your action is maybe avoiding those emails or messages as a way of pushing those clients away. That is the action that you're taking or not taking in this case. And that is a function of your fear. Whereas if you looked at that fear and said, okay, I'm afraid that I won't have time for all this. So what can I do to make sure that I have the time? And how can there are a lot of the time, there are very practical things that you can do to ease these fears, like making room in your schedule for clients. Okay, grab your phone or your planner or whatever and block out a couple of days a week where you only do client calls. Like find a way to create the space for that so that you alleviate that fear.
And it's not that hard when you start thinking about it. There's a couple
for a lot of things it's not.
I know, right? It's about sitting down and doing that work. But I think, a lot of entrepreneurs have it backwards, where they just want to do, type, post, market. And it's work. And then they don't have any time at all to do that inner work. Yeah. One of the things that I like to do, and you're probably really familiar with this, with my clients, especially when they're dealing with this, I don't know how it's going to happen, and I'm dealing with this fear space, is the 68 seconds technique. Mm-hmm. I love that. Have you ever used that yourself?
I don't really time it per se. Like I definitely meditate every day, and I definitely check in with my mood every once in a while throughout the day, and like check, okay, I am very intentional about focusing on, okay, where am I at emotionally right now? And if I feel something's off, then I can, figure out, okay, do I need to, and actually that was something that I wanted to mention as well. Like, should you just divert your attention to something else that feels better, or should you dig deeper? And both situations have a place. So not everything is necessarily worthy of a deep subconscious dive. Like sometimes you really do just need to be like, I just need to get off the Facebook newsfeed and I'll feel better. Like sometimes it really is that simple. So it's not necessary to sit down and journal out, why do I feel so uncomfortable right now? Like, sometimes it really is just a question of saying, okay, I'm going to stop thinking about this thing that's stressing me out for no reason. Like, the gun violence or sometimes it is just a question of redirecting your focus. And sometimes you do need to actually say, okay, this is something that clearly runs deeper. I need to stop and unpack it a little bit and figure out what's stuck under the surface. So the way that I tend to do this with myself and encourage my clients to do it is, if something takes you like from 0 to 60 in seconds, like you're in a really, really great mood, and then all of a sudden, like bam, like something just triggers you and just ruins your day. That's a thought pattern that needs to be felt and shifted. That's not something that you can just redirect your attention and all will be good. You were having a really good day until you got a negative comment on one of your posts or maybe a refund request, and like you just can't stop thinking about it. Then you need to figure out, okay, why does this bother me so much?
And do the work.
Yeah, you have to actually do the work, and you have to feel it, and you have to say, okay, like what experiences or emotions need to come up right now and be released? What rocks do I need to take off the scale in order to feel better? However, if you're just reacting to something because it's in front of you, but it doesn't necessarily trigger you, it's just like it feels uncomfortable and you start to feel like uneasy, and sometimes you start to feel it in your body, like in your stomach or your chest. Sometimes it really is just like, okay, I'm just going to readjust my focus and see if that works. Because sometimes you just realize I've gotten sucked into the Facebook news feed, useless negativity. So sometimes just shutting it off and doing something else is enough. But if shifting your focus doesn't work and you just can't stop thinking about whatever it is, and it really bothers you, then you need to go deeper. Chances are there's something that needs to be released there in order for you to fully let it go. Like if somebody cuts you off in traffic, if somebody cuts you off in traffic and it ruins your day, then you need to ask yourself, okay, what did I make that mean? Like, why does it upset me so much? So maybe it's a belief like nobody respects me. Like that could be a manifestation of a belief that nobody respects you. And that's something you need to dig deeper on. Otherwise, it's going to keep showing up in bigger and bigger ways until you finally deal with it.
And we can find proof all day long, when something like that happens. But until you can get in touch with, what internal dialogue you have, what message you're sending yourself, you're really never going to know what that is. Mm-hmm. But when you finally have unpacked it, you've discovered it, and you're completely aware of it, then sometimes what people will do then is to find proof all the time. See, I'm not important. Mm-hmm. See, they don't love me. See, I'm not very smart.
Yeah, and that's what our brain does. It's just no matter what beliefs you've got, your brain will find proof of those beliefs anywhere, consciously or unconsciously. Like your brain will find the proof of what it's looking for. So that's why this does take some conscious awareness, especially in the beginning. But I want to give the viewers here some tools for how to process these emotions and allow them to actually leave, stop hanging around. So, the first one is just doing it the old fashioned way, having a good cry. Like sometimes you don't have to necessarily do a ton of inner work every single time. Like sometimes you really just need to have a good cry and let it out. However, if that doesn't do the job, if it still bothers you and you can't seem to get past it, then what I really love to do is EFT tapping. So that's basically just tapping on the acupressure points on your face and body, and it reconditions your brain's response to certain memories or thoughts that you're focusing on. Really, really, really effective.
It totally works. It gives me shivers when I'm doing it. And then after I'm done with it, I still question, why the hell did that work? I don't get it. I don't know why that works, but it totally works.
Well, it changes your neural pathways. So, it literally undoes the beliefs that have been created there. And once you've released the emotion through EFT, then your brain is very receptive to new beliefs. So then you can start reinforcing new beliefs that you want to believe, because your brain is like wide open and ready to make new neural pathways. So tapping is a really effective way to do it. Journaling is a really great way to get this stuff out as well. Journaling on, I'm so pissed at this person. Like, I can't believe they did this to me. Like, don't sugarcoat anything. Just let it out. Like, I call it letting your inner bitch speak. And, doing that with tapping as well. You want to make sure you don't sugarcoat anything, and you allow yourself to feel the emotion. Don't try to stifle it. And you just say, okay, like whatever I'm feeling right now, I'm just going to give myself a few minutes to fully feel it and, feel the pain of it. Let the tears come out. Let it happen. and give it the space. Now, journaling, I'm a huge fan of starting with that so that I can figure out what needs to be tapped on or what needs to be addressed, and then moving into some EFT. So I use the two of them.
Oh, I love that. I never thought of doing it that way.
Yeah, I love starting with journaling because sometimes the awareness of it is not enough, and you really do need to have the tapping to fully shift the belief. And then another way that I often use is inner child work. And I have a certain technique that I use, but essentially it's, healing your inner child and going back to your child who first learned these beliefs and helping them to understand that the belief that they made out of it isn't actually what happened. And here's what really happened. Here's why your parents reacted to you that way. Here's why your teacher made you feel stupid and it had nothing to do with you. And really acknowledging and validating your inner child. And
I love that. Remembering it had nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
You see, I don't know if a lot of people know it, but there's a lot of different, with various situations for a lot of people, what they've gone through in their childhood. Sometimes, there has been some abuse, there's been abandonment issues, but thinking that you're not worthy, you're not important. And it carries through their entire life. But
Absolutely.
Just to remember, because they can find proof that, they're really not worthy, right?
Yeah.
And that they can carry that self-esteem, that self-doubt throughout their entire life. But I love what you said, though, just to remember that it had nothing at all to do with you, with your parents, whatever it was that they were going through. Maybe, they were the best parents they could be at the time, but
everybody's always doing their best, and that looks different for everybody. But, even parents who most would consider to be bad parents, like that's probably what they learned. Like nobody says like, I'm going to be the worst parent ever. Like, some people just simply don't even know how to express emotion. They don't know how to express love. They don't know. And they might have done, a questionable job compared, compared to some people's standards, but they're doing their best. And
we have that in our adult relationships with our spouses, because we've got some very dysfunctional marriages, for example. And, again, to your point, they're doing the best that they can do for who they are today. And just to remember, and this is I think the hard part for us to remember, that it doesn't have anything to do with us. We can't take it personally.
Yeah. So I wanted to give you before we wrap this up, I want to give you 3 journal prompts to get you started. Like when something needs to be dealt with, when something keeps coming up for you and calling your attention, here are 3 journal prompts where you can start actually the process of releasing it. So the first one is, what am I making this mean? So if you get cut off in traffic, again, like the reason why it's upset you so much is because you made it mean something. It's not just a simple fact that they cut you off. Otherwise, you would have been over it in no time. But no, it's stuck with you because it triggered a belief in you. So nobody respects me might be an example of what belief this might have triggered. So what am I making this mean? If it was, a really like an Audi or a BMW, you might have been like, rich people are assholes. I know I've definitely done that. Like, I've definitely done that as well. Like when I see a fancy car cut me off or be a terrible driver, they're like, man, these rich people, they just take over the road. They just do whatever they want. I totally used to think that. And so it's, what am I making this mean? Number 2 is, what experiences does this remind me of? So a failed launch. What experiences is this reminding me of? Maybe a bad test score, or, a game where everyone was counting on you to get the final goal and you dropped the ball. You didn't follow through. Or what experiences in your life is this kind of bringing back up to the surface for you, whether you realized it or not? Number 3 is, why do I feel the need to hold on to this emotion? This one is important because a lot of people, if we take the traffic example, a lot of people feel very justified in letting that ruin their day. And like they're very attached to this emotion because they need other people to know that they were wronged. If you can't let go of this emotion, there's an attachment. When you can't let go of an emotion, it's because you feel on some level that you need it. So why do I feel the need to hold on to this emotion? This is where a lot of victim mindset comes in. I need people to think of me as incapable or helpless or whatever, because that's when they give me love and attention and feel sorry for me and, stuff like that. That's an example. So why do I need to hold on to this negative emotion? What would happen if I let it go?
I love that. These are really good questions, really good for journaling.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's so much power in journaling personally.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of, I was doing some journaling myself earlier.
Would you ever let anyone read your journal?
Probably not till I'm dead. And even then I might ask depending on how old I am, I might ask my kids to just burn them before anyone has a chance to read them. Who knows? But no, like sometimes I'll share an aha moment like on social media if I feel like it's something that can serve other people, but just letting people read my raw journal, I don't think so.
Wow, that's good. Must be some good stuff in there.
Well, I mean, there's stuff like I let my inner bitch speak in my journal because that's part of it, right? So if people read it, they would look at that and be just like, oh my God, like I feel so, she hated me. And in reality, I don't at all. It's just the process of letting things out. You have to, let your thoughts in the moment out.
And I think that's a big problem too, because when we feel about these feelings about these events and everything, we don't want to go to that place because then I'm a bad girl.
Yeah.
And as women, we're told that we're supposed to be good girls. And then for us to, have that bitchy moment in our journal or even in here in general, it's like now we're judging ourselves. So we have to make it okay to feel it.
You have to give yourself an outlet for it. Like, I'm not saying that you should stay there and dwell on it, but you have to either journal on it or tap on it, or sometimes even just saying it out loud into thin air, like just getting it out. Otherwise it will stay stuck there. Like you can choose to be quiet about it and be a nice girl and then stay stuck with it and have it continue to weigh you down, or you can write it out and get rid of it.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of people do hold on to it, and it really it has a major effect on the direction of their future, and not in a positive way.
Absolutely.
Lots of good stuff here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Do you have any special gifts for our viewers today?
Well, actually, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be doing the Release and Receive 5-day challenge, which is all about releasing emotions.
All right.
So, if anybody wants to join me for that, that's going to be happening on starting April 2nd. And every day I'm going to be going live in my group with a live clearing session. I'm going to be sending journal prompts and meditations to everybody's email daily during that challenge. And it's going to be, I've done this challenge twice before, and each time it's been very, very healing. And a lot of people have really enjoyed how it makes them feel at the end of it. So I'm really excited to do it again.
Very good. Well, do me a favor then, when we get wrapped up here, then would you mind putting a link in the comments?
Yep, absolutely, I will.
Good deal. Well, thank you so much for coming. It was really so much fun to talk to you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks so much for having me on.
You're welcome. And we'll do it again, right?
Yeah, sounds good.
Well, have a good day. We'll talk to you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.